Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw and shade an eye. I have used Derwent Graphite pencils for this. I have also used Derwent charcoal pencils. For the highlights, I have used Prismacolor kneaded rubber. You can mold this into any shape that you'd like to create the highlights. This is going to be a time-lapse video of my drawing. If you want more details on how to draw and shade an eye, you can check out part 1 of my portrait drawing sequence videos. Let's get started. First, I'm marking the shadows and the highlights for the eye. I'm using charcoal pencil for this. This is a light shade of charcoal. Now for shading the skin, I'm using charcoal powder and an earbud. I do not have charcoal powder, I just created it using my charcoal pencil. You can just rub your charcoal pencil on a piece of paper and you should be able to get some charcoal powder. Depending on the shade that you want, you can either use light or medium or dark charcoal pencil to get the powder. Now defining the eyebrow. I'm switching over to graphite pencils here because I find it easier to define the finer details using graphite pencils. You can continue with charcoal pencils if you'd like. However, charcoal is more prone to smudging, and that's one of the reasons I prefer to use graphite pencils for finer details such as this. However, charcoal works best for defining darker values, and I've also used charcoal in this drawing wherever needed. I'm using the Prismacolor kneaded rubber for defining the highlights as I'm drawing the eyebrow. The kneaded rubber is very useful in a portrait drawing because you can mold it into any shape and create those tiny highlights. I'm also using a 0.7 mm HB lead to draw the thin strands of hair in the eyebrow. This gives a really nice finish to the eyebrow drawing. Finally, using the kneaded rubber to define those highlights. Defining the highlights and the dark values correctly can make a huge difference to your drawing and make it look so realistic. Now moving on to the eye, try and use a wide range of pencils which can help you define the dark and light areas accurately and also help you manage the transition smoothly. Pay close attention to the reference picture to understand the shadows, the midtones and the highlights. With trial and error, you will eventually learn which shade of pencil works best for the value that you're trying to create. Keep experimenting with different shades of pencils. Draw a lot of rough sketches and that's how you learn. For the darkest values, I'm using the darkest shade that I have, that is 9B. Try to define the highlights as you're shading the eyeball. However, if you make a mistake, do not worry, because you can use a kneaded rubber or a white pen to define the highlights later. Drawing veins in the eye. Now moving on to the next layer of shading for the eyeball. You can use darker shades like 6B or higher for this. You will notice that I'm also using earbuds in between for blending as I'm shading. Now this part of the eye usually has a lot of detail, so shade carefully. Now moving on to drawing the eyelashes. Now keep your pencils really sharp for this. I'm also using a 0.7 mm HB lead because it really helps achieve the finer details needed for the eyelashes. Also pay attention to the waterline. You will notice that the eyelashes begin from the outer layer and there is a waterline that is clearly visible in the reference picture. Use darker shades of pencil for drawing those thick eyelashes. Wherever you see thin strands of hair, use 0.7 mm HB pencil or use a normal HB pencil which is really sharp. Also pay attention to the direction of the eyelashes. Try and make it look as natural as possible. I'm now back to shading the skin surrounding the eye. Using earbuds for blending, it works really well for both graphite and charcoal pencils. I'm now going to draw the lines surrounding the eye before we get back to defining the eyelashes. There is a lot of detail in here, so many different shades that are used, so you really need to pay close attention to the reference picture to understand the different values and try to recreate it. I have used a wide range of pencils in this drawing, 7H or 9H for really light values, 3H or HB for light values, 2B or 3B for medium values, and 6B onwards for dark values. I'm using the kneaded rubber almost like a pencil here to define the highlights. You can keep it as sharp as you want and it's so easy to use. Once you use it and you see some black marks on it, just refold it and use a new layer for your highlights. You can complete the eyelashes after you've defined the highlights. Now back to shading the rest of the skin area. This part is really tricky, so try and follow the reference picture to the extent you can. Even some portions of wrong shading can spoil your drawing. Use earbuds whenever needed to bring a smooth finish. It can make your shade lighter, however you can keep repeating it until you get the desired shade. Now I'm going to define the highlights in the eye. I'm using a kneaded rubber and also a white pen for this. Use the white pen only for the finishing touches because once you have used a white pen, you might not be able to add layers. Along with defining the highlights, I'm also adding finishing touches to bring out the darker values in the drawing. The drawing is almost complete. The last few minutes is all about those small corrections or details until you're completely satisfied with your drawing. I'm going to end it here. Both the pictures are the same drawing, it's just the angle and the lighting difference. Hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos.